একটি কথা শুধাই শুধু তোমারে, ও নদীরে একটি কথা শুধাই শুধু তোমারে, বলো কোথায় তোমার দেশ, তোমার নেই কি চলার শেষ, ও নদীরে একটি কথা শুধাই শুধু তোমারে, বলো কোথায় তোমার দেশ, তোমার নেই কি চলার শেষ, ও নদীরে।
I had no interest in cinema, but I had to see films. And the first 3 films I saw when I was 8-year-old or 9-year-old, one of the films was Kid. That was by Chaplin. It was made in 1921. I loved it, loved and loved and loved. And I saw the whole of Chaplin in another festival where my film was also shown, Calcutta 71. It was shown in Venice Festival. I introduced my film, Calcutta 71, and that was all about my interaction with my film. And the festival, I was from morning till late at night, I used to see, up to midnight, I used to see Chaplin. From the beginning to the end, I grew wiser. So Chaplin was given the Lifetime Achievement Award there. And Chaplin came, and for the first time and the last time I saw him, and there was ovation, unending. It went on and on, clapping, and Chaplin stood up. Very effortedly, he stood up and just threw kisses, a few kisses, and that was all. We were all standing behind, and I wanted to come forward. I wanted to say that I love your films, and I saw all your films, and I grew wiser with your films. All these things taken together made me think my own way. I am no clown. I am not Chaplinesque in the manner. I don't go by Chaplin, but it is so much a part of me. It was so much a part of me. So that was why it was like that.
When I was younger, I had a very strong conviction that my father is not completely sane. And that conviction helped me in many ways, because I never took him very seriously.
I was very comfortable, I was very confident, but at the same time, I always was trying to fit in and see if I could help out in any way at that time.
My whole life is indebted to Mr. Mrinal Sen.
And because of Mrinal Sen, I found my place.
He's absolutely different man, absolutely different man.
I think, this spiritually like a father figure to me.
My first contact with Mrinal Sen was in terms of a scolding.
I think anger is the driving machine of Mrinal Sen.
Mrinal Sen is a sweetheart.
I feel that I've known him as long as I can remember. And he's that perfect combination of wise old man and completely young at heart.
I love him, I respect him, I love him, everything.
Mrinalda, I found astonishingly open.
Lot of people in India, they don't anticipate problems. So he had the capacity and vision to anticipate problem, which is very, very important.
What he wants is absolutely, he knows what he wants.
When you talk about Mrinal Sen, you first thing that appears is that man in the white kurta pajama and the pipe in hand.
And at one point I remember feeling very depressed, and I said, Mrinalda, why can't men be like you? So he said, hey, 1 second. So he charges off and tells his wife, Geeta, hey, Geeta, you know what Suhas is saying? She's saying, why aren't men more like me? Ha! You better be good to me.
Maybe I had a imagination about how film directors look like, but Mrinalji too was completely different. He was so charming.
You don't think of him as somebody from another generation.
But I think somewhere Dada was a romantic at heart. I suspect. And he covered it up very well.
I remember every time we would come back to the shoot, the first thing Mrinalda would do was to pick up the phone and call up Geeta Bodhi. You know, he would call her up and find some excuse to talk with her.
ওকে একা ছেড়ে দেবেন যাবেন আমি দিয়ে আসছি ওরা হাওড়ায় দিতে এলো আমাকে দিতে এসে স্টেশনে ঘড়ির তলায় দাঁড়িয়ে বাদাম কিনলো আপনি খাবেন দু একটা হ্যাঁ বলে নিলাম বাদাম খেতে খেতে বাড়ি গেলাম বাড়িতে যেতে মাকে বললাম মা উনি মৃণালদা তখন দাদাই বললাম মৃণালদা সেই আমার প্রথম ওই দুধারা ছবির থেকেই ওর সঙ্গে আমার আলাপ
Working with him, you always feel that you are sitting with him in his house and having a chat.
Mrinalda changed the entire scenario of Bangla cinema.
He has a very large range where he's operated in as a filmmaker.
I mean, look at the body of work this man has done. Look at the different kind of subjects he has chosen.
And he used to inspire me a lot, and I truly believe he is one of the best directors of our time, of that period, was much ahead of his time. You know.
I used to look a little in amazement that this is the man who actually reflected the viewpoint of a generation that was distinct from him and could portray it so vividly, so painfully.
Mrinal Sen, as a filmmaker, had a very independent, authentic style of filmmaking, which doesn't match up to anybody in the whole world, I would say.
He's very impatient with non-actors. And I remember once there was an actor who just wasn't getting his lines right. And Mrinalda actually went and touched his feet and said, I beg of you, please do that right.
And Mrinal is an ardent theatre lover. So we are very close from that context.
Internationally, he is huge in terms of his cinema.
যে আমি ভীষণ শ্রদ্ধা করি ওই একটি মানুষকে দেখেছি যে তিনি তার যে আদর্শে বিশ্বাস করেন সেই আদর্শ নিয়ে তখনও যেমন ছিলেন পরবর্তীকালেও সেই রকমভাবেই আছেন
I think he did what he wanted to do. That is, he never made a compromise.
Mrinal Sen is somebody who at this moment embodies Indian cinema in a way, the spirit of Indian cinema and the celebration of it.
Amar ma Bangali, Bangal amar matrabhumi, Bangla mane Lalon Fakir, Bangla mane Robi Thakur, Bangla mane Netaji Subhash Chandra, Bangla mane Vivekanand, বাংলা মানে সোনালী ধান বাংলা মানে প্রাণের গান বাংলা মানে মৃণাল সেন
Well, I left my native place.
Home in Bangladesh.
Now in Bangladesh. So I came here in 1940, long before independence, 1947. When I came there, I fell in love with Calcutta. I fell in love with the city. I was horrified by the immensity of the city. At the same time, I was deeply involved in the city.
इसी बंगाल के हैं भुवन सोम 16 आने खरे बरसों बंगाल के बाहर रहने के बाद भी जिनका बंगालीपन नहीं गया भुवन सोम, एक विशुद्ध बंगाली।
When I was in a small town, everybody knew me. Everybody knew my father. But now nobody knows me. I'm nobody there. So this is a sense of uneasiness, also a sense of, I was thrown into a crowd without knowing anything. But in course of years, in a couple of years, I came to love Calcutta. So I lived my life through Calcutta. Forget partition. Partition didn't have any impact on me. But because I have already found my place, Kolkata, which I call my El Dorado. That is my place. So Calcutta instigates me. Calcutta threatens me. Calcutta makes me cry. Calcutta inspires me. Now, when I look at what is happening in Europe, I get closer to them. The Hindu-Muslim
riots,
the fight, famine, this thing, other political crisis, all these together had an impact on me. I became a filmmaker by accident. That was the time when I used to read a lot. And the situation, the time was so powerful, sitting on my neck and making me do things I liked. So I started reading books, but I had no direction, no generalization. I used to read all kinds of books, whichever came my way. For instance, I started with the fiction and plays, then sociology, philosophy, everything, but never cinema and such. Very honestly, I just ran into a book, bumped into a book on cinema. It is on the aesthetics of cinema. That was the first time I came to know about the aesthetics of cinema. And I liked it very much. And this continued. I kept on reading books, as many books as I found in the Imperial Library. It was then called Imperial Library. Now it is National Library. So I started reading books on cinema, whatever books I came across. I thought I have known cinema. So then I decided that I'd write a script. So I wrote a script. It was a very bad script, perhaps so, but my first script, without knowing how I am going to make it. So I had two friends, two or three friends, Ritik Ghatak, Shalil Chaudhary, and my friend Rishikesh Mukherjee. Rishikesh Mukherjee was the only person who was in cinema, neither me nor Ritik Ghatak. So we decided, our friend Taposh Sen, he will crank, he will do the photography. And Ritik said he would direct it. And I was the script writer. The script was there. And we decided to shoot it in a place called somewhere in Kharij. And we decided that we would go there and we will shoot there with a 16mm camera. We decided to have a cameraman, Rishikesh Mukherjee. He organized a camera, a very bad camera, a 16mm camera, but that will do. The time was coming first that we have to go there, and then I do not know how to rewrite the script. Ritik didn't know how to do it.
Directed.
Khalil didn't know how to do the music. Everybody was like that. But then we got a heart from the Communist Party, Central Board, that what India has been doing, the Communist Party has been trying to do, is wrong. So Kagdev was thrown out. So we couldn't go to Kagdev, and we saved ourselves that way. We couldn't do it. And after a few days, I came to know from my cigarette vendor in my place area. I was in Park Circus at that time. He told me I went there to buy one cigarette, I used to buy 1 cigarette a day or 2 cigarettes a day. I couldn't afford more. And Ritik was fond of biri. So he used to have biris, number of biris. But I and Taposh, we wanted to have cigarettes. So I went there, and the cigarette vendor, he told me that, Babu, be careful. The police might come to you. So what I did, I burned the script. The script was burnt, and the police came, didn't find anything. So then I was saved that way. But those saving thing, what saved us all, that we didn't allow ourselves to make the film. That was great. My friends and I, all of us were like that. Not that we didn't have any disciplines of ours. We had our own disciplines. Taposh Sen, for instance, he was interested in photography. And Ritik Ghatak, he has interest in theatre. And I had interest in literature. And Rishikesh Mukherjee is the real filmmaker. He was an editor. So these are the things which I interacted with them. But Satyajit Ray had an interest right from the beginning. He used to see films and come back, and he used to write the same script in his own way. And it so happened they started making films with very little money, very meager amount. He started making films. I was in touch with Satyajit Ray at that time. I thought that you need to have lot of reading, lot of knowing how to make films. So I started writing books, writing essays on cinema.
He's a wonderful writer, very good writer. And other than Satyajit Ray, I have hardly come across any director who used to write his dialogues so pointedly, so accurately, and so fluently, I should say.
A producer thought that I know, since I can write good on cinema, so I could make a films. So I started making films, but it was made. It was made and released after Satyajit Ray's Pather Panchali. It was a bombshell, but when I saw my own film, it was terrible. It was very carelessly done. I could realize that this is not the thing I should do. And I went into hiding because I wanted to learn more. And that was the time when I learned more about cinema by watching films. I mean, Russian films, the democratic war films, the documentaries of British documentaries. These are the films which gave me a lot of food.
After your first film, which you don't like and wasn't a commercial success either, how did Neel Akasher Neechey come about? How did it happen?
The political concept of my thinking that our struggle for independence is so much a part of the democratic world's fight against fascism. That was the thing which insisted that I should go along with that. So I found a story by a writer called Mahadevi Barma, who was not, she was a poet, but she was not a story writer. But she wrote a story called Chini Feriwala. Chini Feriwala, about a Chinese hawker.
কে?
গুড মর্নিং।
তুমি ছেলেরা আজ আবার দুষ্টু করেছে
নে নে নো ঝগড়া শেখ চীনা শেখ লেগা তুমি লেগ
না
গুড শেখ
আমি নেব না
গুড শেখ চীনা শেখ আচ্ছা শেখ তুমি দেখো
না আমি বিদেশি জিনিস ব্যবহার করি না
যা
ফরেন স্টাফ আমি ব্যবহার করি না
কা ফাইন name am sharp. Me no fine. I'm no fine. I'm thinner man. Idak. No white. No white. No English. Huh? Thinner man. Idak. 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 No blue. Huh? No blue. Thinner man. Idak. No this. Huh? Thinner man.
When he makes his films, you can see the compassion for the characters that he's dealing with. So at heart, I think he's a deeply humanist person. He's a very compassionate person. Whether it's ideology or politics or any other context, his concern is always human beings. And that's what makes his cinema so accessible and so relatable immediately, whatever subject he takes.
And what is very important is that you have a human being with a critical political understanding of India, critical understanding of cinema, and he, wherever he is, he stands or whatever he does, there is a lesson for you to learn from his humility, from his humanism, and also from his tremendous commitment to cinema.
And one day I was there at Tangra, the Chinatown, the new Chinatown, and I was walking. I could see that a lot of children, Chinese, they were after me. I looked back, and all of them, I said, they were all looking like this. I'm making fun of me because my nose was sharp. They did like this. So I looked at them. I said, I did like this. That was how we became friends. That was how I came to know Chinese. That was how I came to know films. So this is all went into my filmmaking process. When Neel Akash Neechey was made, it was liked by people, many people, and it was a commercial success. But I was not happy. I think that there are many loopholes in the film.
What about the music of Neel Akash Neechey, which has stayed on and remained popular, which was also the contribution
when
of
I met Neel Akash Neechey,
your producer, Hemant
the producer
Mukherjee.
of Neel Akash Neechey was a great music lover and a musician, Hemant Mukherjee. And Hemant Mukherjee met it, and he said, how is it? But there is no song. And I am answerable to my own people. So you must put at least 2 songs.
একটি কথা শুধাই শুধু তোমারে বলো কোথায় তোমার দেশ তোমার নেই কি চলার শেষ ও নদীরে
And both the 2 songs became very popular.
Very popular.
Very popular. And my film was also popular because of the songs too.
আজও সবাই ওই গানটা কেউ ভোলেনি, নীল আকাশের নিচে পৃথিবী আর পৃথিবীর পরে ওই নীল আকাশ। এটা কেউ ভোলেনি, এটা কখনো কেউ ভুলবে না।
নীল আকাশের নিচে পৃথিবী আর পৃথিবীর পরে ওই নীল আকাশ। তুমি দেখেছো কি আকাশ আকাশ, শুধু নীল ঘন নীল নীল আকাশ। সেই নীল মুছে দিয়ে আসে রাত, পৃথিবী ঘুমিয়ে পড়ে। তুমি দেখেছো কি তুমি রাতের সে নীরবতা দেখেছো কি শুনেছো কি রাত্রির কান্না বাতাসে বাতাসে বাজে তুমি শুনেছো কি
But the film was banned after 3 years by the officials when there was that border trouble with China. And the film was banned. And that made me very important. They lifted the ban and the film ran much better because of this fact.
You know, he never stopped learning He was always excited by cinema and always excited by new talent. So he was always very youthful and young in the way he thought about cinema. And that, I think, has been his greatest quality.
Even today, when I look at my old films, I always feel that if I have to make the film once again, I would have perhaps done it better, even better. So I always treat my old films as dress rehearsal. So Neel, Akash and Neechey was the dress rehearsal for the first time. So I wanted to forget about it. So I made my third film. That was Baishe Shravan.
As a student in Bangalore in cinematography, I happened to see his film Baishe Shravan, and that has remained with me forever. I think it is one of his masterpieces. The photography, the performances, the locations on which he shot, and the story, everything just comes together so well that it had a tremendous impact for me.
Baishe Shravan is the day when Rabindranath Tagore died. And they felt that it has something to do with that. No, not at all. Because death of Rabindranath Tagore is a very important event, the world event. But other things also happened.
We have very few directors in India who have been consistent in their work, who have not compromised at any stage, and Mrinal Sen is one of them.
তোমার একটু কথা ঠিক নেই।
কেন কেন কি হলো?
সেই যে বলেছিলে কলকাতায় কোন দোকানে নাড়ুগোপালের ছবি দেখে এসেছো, আনলে না তো ছবিটা?
আচ্ছা আজকে ঠিক নেই।
ছাই আনবে, আর তোমাকে আনতেও হবে না।
আচ্ছা রোজ রোজ এত ফরমাস, ঘর তো একখানা, রাখবে কোথায় সব?
হা একখানা ছবিতে যেন ঘর পড়ে যাবে।
उनकी फिल्मों में बहुत ही कमाल का कॉम्पोजिशंस हुआ करता था, बहुत ही अच्छी तरह से वो फिल्म को फ्रेमिंग और ये करते। तो एक विजुअल आदमी के नाते, एक प्रोडक्शन डिज़ाइनर, एक आर्ट डायरेक्टर के नाते हमें बहुत मज़ा आता था। और बहुत ही इजी गोइंग जो चाहिए वो चाहिए, लेकिन बहुत ही कंफर्ट लेवल से काम करने वाला एक बहुत ही टैलेंटेड सिंसियर आदमी।
And that was the first film which went abroad and which was appreciated and which was talked about. And I went on and on and on and on.
Time proved that Mrinal Sen is an international figure in filmmaking, and he actually really took forward the Indian film across the borders. He kind of pushed the border of cinematic language, and he represented India in different international forums.
वो माहौल ऐसा बनाते थे. He'd make sure that he created an atmosphere of creativity on the sets. So everybody, his DOP, his actors, his sound, all of them would get tuned to his own drama.
মা গো, তুমি বেঁচে গেছো, মরে গিয়ে তুমি বেঁচে গেছো মা। তুমি সহ্য করতে পারতে না মা, সহ্য করতে পারতে না। যদি দেখতে তোমার সংসারের কি হাল হয়েছে।
He has made that film which sort of heralded his coming, Baishe Shravan, that may not be a romantic film, but that's again a man-woman film in a completely different light. That makes him so special. If I have to make a man-woman film, I am not under any compulsion to make it a romantic film. That was how Mrinal Sen saw.
You were using actors and using actors in a very different way from the way they were being used in the Bengali cinema of the time. And one could see that it was the director making a film through his actors rather than the actors being presented or being projected by the director. Madhubhi comes for virtually the first time in that film.
Not the first time, but
virtually the
first major role.
Major role. And Ganesh Mukherjee also.
Ganesh Mukherjee. He was also from the IPTA. IPTA. And Indian People's Theatres Association. And so Ganesh Mukherjee and Madhubhi Mukherjee, they did very well. And they were the key notes in my film, Baishe Shravan. I was giving my own experiences. I was talking to them like that. I am no actor. But when I was talking to her, I said, had I been there, I would have done this. And had you been there, so you will have to do your own way. So this is how we started.
মৃণাল বাবু তখন ইন্টারভিউ নিলেন যে তুমি এটা করতে পারো বললে বোঝা যাবে না, কি করতে পারো জিজ্ঞাসা করেছেন, তুমি ঘর মুছতে পারো? তাই আমি বললাম হ্যাঁ। ঘর ঝাঁট দিতে পারো? আমি বললাম হ্যাঁ। তারপরে একটার পর একটা এরকম কথাই বলে যাচ্ছেন, আমি সবগুলো হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ বলছি। তারপর একটা সময় বললেন তুমি ঘুঁটে দিতে পারো? তখন ওটা তো কখনো দিইনি, সেই জন্য একটু চুপ করে গেছি। ঠিক সেই সময় গীতাদি বাঁচালেন, মানে মৃণালবাবুর স্ত্রী। গীতাদি বললেন যে এটা একটা কথা নাকি, ঘুঁটে কি দেওয়া খুব কঠিন কাজ, এরকম করে ঘুঁটে নিয়ে গোবর নিয়ে ঠাপ করে লাগাতে হয় দেয়ালে, এই তো ঘুঁটে দেওয়া তো একটা কঠিন কাজ নয়। তো যাক, বেঁচে গেলাম। এবং সেই থেকে গীতাদি আমার কাছে দেবীর মতন আজও হয়ে আছে।
So there was a kind of, I came in contact with my actors. All my actors were like that. And I didn't have to teach, because for the simple reason that I am no teacher. And they did it themselves. They behaved the way they should do. Behaving is very important. They started behaving that way.
I could not believe how much he cared for the performances. We as people were very much present in his vision as well. So it was never a riding roughshod kind of attitude he had of I have thought this and this is how it's going to be kind of thing. And I had met many other directors who approached and who were not fit to wipe his shoes. Mrinalda's shoes were not fit to wipe those shoes, who would insist, no, don't change a word, I have written it, this is my conception and all that nonsense. And the kind of films they made are there for everybody to see. Mrinalda, I found astonishingly open. He would be amused if there was something funny that happened. He would incorporate ideas. He would ask us, what do you think? How would you like to do it? After first showing us how he would like it done, would say, okay, show me how you would do it. Which was wonderful, because so far I'd only met directors who would say, show me how you would do it, when they didn't have any ideas. And then they would happily take the credit for what the actor had done. And if the actor was bad, then the actor was blamed. He's a no good actor. The directors never considered it their responsibility to draw a performance out of the actor. And in cinema, that's what's required. The greatest actors in the world, people like Marlon Brando and Max von Sydow and Toshiro Mifune, have failed when they have been badly directed in movies. So I felt this tremendous concern that Mrinalda had for all of us. And the very loving way he took care of us and handled us, and kept the communication going on a personal level as well. That to me was most important. He didn't disappear behind the camera and give us a perfunctory. He would always spend time with us, and the guidance he gave was very gentle and very firm.
हाँ हाँ हाँ, ऐसे ही एक कुलबाती करने वाले को मैंने भी देखा।
एक क्यों, दो बोलना, हरिहर और उसकी बेटी।
नहीं नहीं नहीं, वो नहीं, इसके कल रात को देखा एक लड़की। लड़की? हाँ लड़की।
सुभाष।
अच्छा, आज भी देखा, शायद वही थी, छत पे कपड़े वपड़े सुखा रही थी।
ओहो हो, अब समझ आया है छत का चक्कर, तभी तो दिन रात छत पर क्यों।
When Dada has directed you, or when he directs actors, you never come to know. It's so easily. He puts you in such a comfort zone. Believe you me. I just never realized that. Oh my gosh! I'm working under the direction of legendary Mrinal Da.
सुभाष, सुभाष, वो आ गई।
कौन?
वही तुम्हारी, एक और कोई।
एक और कोई?
अब बन मत, उधर उधर पश्चिम की तरफ।
ओह अच्छा अच्छा, ऐसा बोलना। आई है?
अरे यार आई और चली भी गई।
तब तो बात ही खत्म।
अरे कहाँ यार, बात कहाँ खत्म?
मतलब तो देखे देखे गिर जाएगा।
ओह, मतलब कि सचमुच शमशान चंपा थी।
शमशान चंपा?
चाहे कुछ भी कह ले, नजर बहुत तेज है तेरी। अगले जन्म में मैं भी फोटोग्राफर बनूंगा। और साल दीपक को देख, मैनर्स तक नहीं है उसको यार, हमारा इंट्रोडक्शन तक नहीं करवाया।
अच्छा, इंट्रोडक्शन करवाता तो तू क्या कर लेता?
मतलब यार इनवाइट करते उसे लंच के लिए, और क्या।
ए अनिल, वो देख, इधर आ, वो देख तेरी शमशान चंपा।
He gives actors a space where he will flower, he will grow, and leaves it to his own ways of tackling the situation.
এই যে একটা আর্টিস্টকে তার মতন করে কাজ করতে দেওয়ার এটা কিন্তু কেউ কোনো ডিরেক্টরের কাছে পায়নি।
When we were on the sets, we were told to do whatever we wanted to do. Mamata and I were told whatever we wanted to do, and he watched it and then he said, okay, let's shoot this, and then he gave us some suggestions. But it wasn't like we were given a script, we had to memorize the dialogues. We were told by the ADs, okay, this is your position, this is going to be a close-up, this is going to be this is going to be a... He never made films like that. It was always changing. Then on the editing table it changed, then on the music it changed, then on the dubbing it changed. And I felt that his films were all about, his films were made as they were made. It wasn't like here's a script. I mean, you can't take a Mrinal Sen script and make that film.
কথাটা তুমি না বললেই পারতে।
কি?
এই উনুনের ব্যাপারটা তুমি নিভে আসুনি, কোনো দরকার ছিল না বলার।
কেন, কিছু বলেছে?
বলবে আবার কি, তুমিই তো সব বললে।
ও তো আমি রোজই করি।
কিন্তু রোজ ওখানে ও শোয় না, দেখলে না? দেখছি ডালা ফালা খুলে কি সব দেখছিল।
He was very good. He never showed you how to act. Shotojit Rai told you, Manik Kaka told you what to do, you know. Now you scratch your head, look down, look up. Mrinal Kaka didn't do that. But he tried to draw you out.
Thanks.
আপনার কথা অনেক শুনি।
হ্যাঁ, আপনার কথা।
আচ্ছা, আপনার এই বইটা আমি একদিন নেব। মানে এখন না, পরে কোনো একদিন।
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, নিশ্চয়ই নিশ্চয়ই। আর সতু আমার খুব ছেলেবেলার বন্ধু, খুব ব্রিলিয়েন্ট ছেলে বরাবরই, লাইক মি। বাড়ি বলিস কেন, দেখেন খুব মডেস্ট আছে আপনি।
এটা তো ভাবতে হবে যে যে ফুল দিয়ে আমরা আমাদের ঈশ্বর হচ্ছে গিয়ে ছবি বা নাটক, তো সেই ঈশ্বরকে যে পুজোর জন্য নিবেদন করা হবে সেই ফুলগুলো চুজ করা, এই চুজগুলো কিন্তু উনি করেছেন, অন্য কেউ নয়। এই চুজগুলো যদি ভুল হতো তাহলে কিন্তু আপনাদের ভালো লাগতো না। আজকে এই প্রত্যেকটা ফুল, যে ফুলগুলো উনি তুলে নিয়ে এসেছেন, সেই ফুলগুলো দিকে দিকে ছড়িয়ে গেছে। তো এটাই সবচেয়ে বড় কথা নয়?
Your involvement in the technique of filmmaking, in the use of the camera, the sound, when did your real involvement, total participation in these things begin?
Everything comes from my own life. When I was in my hometown, now in Bangladesh, I used to wake up with the sound of, with the chirping of the birds. But when I came to Calcutta, I came to know about in the morning when the municipal people, they started
Flushed the street with water
flushing
pipes.
the street, water pipes. So it made a sound, click, 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 something like this. So I could realize this is how it comes. So these are the things which came my way. This is how I learned. This is how I try to put into my sound. I remember Eisenstein's Baishe Potemkin, it was without sound. But I could hear the sound. How did I hear the sound? It was the magic of editing that did it. When, for instance, strike, Eisenstein's strike, before Baishe Potemkin, when the strikers were to be thrown out, so ice cold water from the hose pipe, they were
Sprayed on
them. This is how it was, and I could hear the sound of the plack, 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 click, 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 click. It was like this. So I also learned editing through all this. Cinema is technological performance. From the techniques of sound, techniques of
Lighting.
light, and then editing makes the whole thing acceptable. So I then went back to Neel Sen's cinema as a graphic art. When Eisenstein talks about montage, I didn't know what is montage. Constructive cutting and editing, constructive cutting and joining. This is called montage. It was sort of self-learning, self-teaching. I taught myself the same way. I was politically charged when I saw Calcutta. I started watching Calcutta. I started loving Calcutta. Calcutta is a place which is quite often paralyzed because of excess of monsoon or because of excess of political passion. So these are the things which fascinated me. That was how I began my political thinking. I could see that the relationship between the man and the woman can also be politically criticized, politically viewed. It is not a political film, but it can be treated politically. So that was there in Baishe Shravan.
वो fearless आदमी है, and he can get into any subject, but apart from that, he also works a lot with the medium.
He taught me to break rules. He said that cinema is not about telling very straightforward stories, and one needs to break rules and one needs to create one's own rule, and so he was all the time playing around.
একটা চমৎকার গল্পের কতগুলি ছিন্ন অংশ বসন্তের আকস্মিক বাতাসে এই বৃহৎ প্রাসাদের বিচিত্র ঘরগুলির মধ্যে উড়িয়া বেড়াইত। খানিকটা দূর পর্যন্ত পাওয়া যাইত, তাহার পরে আর শেষ দেখা যাইত না। আমিও সেই ঘূর্ণমান বিচ্ছিন্ন অংশগুলির অনুসরণ করিয়া
how does left politics really come to you?
I wouldn't say that I am a politician. I am not a politician. But I knew about politics. And I could see that I cannot go beyond it. Whenever I have to go any relationship, the relation between man and woman, relation between man and man, everything has got to do something with politics.
That period of insecurity, trauma, that period of anxiety, that period of confronting state power in the raw was reflected ever so finely by Mrinal Sen that nobody came a patch near him. Many others tried to recapture that period, Calcutta 71, Interview. We were not sure in 1970, 71 whether any of us would at all get a job.
Would you say that the understanding or the awareness of the politics in human relationships, and particularly between man and woman, this also works in your two following films?
I made mistakes again. You know, there are 2 or 3 films which I didn't like at all. Okay. And then I came to Akash Kusum. When I made Akash Kusum, I had full knowledge of things, what I was to do. And Ashish Burman wrote the story, but I rewrote the whole thing. And this was also on class-divided society.
At a certain point of the film, if you may remember, when they go on the top floor of the skyscraper and this young man says, "Oh, I'm going to buy this whole city." The bubbling effervescence of his energy was so touching.
He has always proved a very different kind of, he has always came up with a very different kind of filmmaking technique and cinematic language, which I think is very important.
There's always a kind of exploratory kind of mind, you know, always trying to explore, going to the boundaries of, you know, trying to look at the world in so many different ways.
And towards the end of the film, a kind of use of still photographs which he did was also rather innovative.
The way he used freezes as transitions or as points to emphasize certain situation, certain emotional point in the story. He used the freezes extensively and they all worked so well. And then again, a person known basically for his realistic cinema, look at the leaps he has taken into stylization, into fantasy in the later films also. Very few directors will dare to go and experiment with the form of cinema, to the narrative style, the narrative strategies of cinema, like Mrinal.
I told you to go. মনিকে কয়েকটা কথা বলে।
হোয়াট?
আমি অবশ্য আর কোনোদিন এখানে আসবো না।
উইল ইউ গো? ইম্পোস্টার, চিট, ব্লাফার।
আপনার সব কথাই আমি মেনে নিচ্ছি, কিন্তু
আমি তোমার কোনো কথা শুনতে চাই না। তুমি যাবে কিনা? ইয়ে, তুমি এখানে?
মনি,
আপনি এখন এখানে দাঁড়িয়ে আছেন, চলে যান।
কিন্তু আমার একটা কথা এখনো বলা হয়নি মনি।
I remember there was a scene when I was supposed to cry, and I'd been worrying about that all day. But Mrinal Kaka said, no, it'll be fine. And he sat me down and he started talking about the characters. Monica, I think my name was Moni. Everyone used to call me Moni. Moni's life and how Moni had planned, on this, she had fallen in love with the Shoumitro character, and how she had planned for a little home of her own, where there would be a little kitchen and a fridge and, a dining table, and there would be a little gas stove, and what pictures she'd put on the walls, and how she'd do up her living room, and so on and so forth. Little things that they could afford at that stage. And he just conjured up such a lovely, cozy, rosy dream. And he said, that dream has been shattered now. There's no way you can. And my eyes just filled. But up to here was fine. And quietly Mrinal Sen said, okay, shoot.
আমাদের আর কোনো কথা নেই, আপনি চলে যান, আপনি প্লিজ চলে যান।
মানে Shubhendu Chatterjee came to limelight because of Akash Kusum and Mrinal Sen, and it's very interesting because Soumitra Jetu was the hero of the film. Mrinal Jetu needed somebody of a similar structure, similar structure in the sense because the character was poor, who needed a friend whose suits he used to wear. So he wanted a structure similar to Soumitra Jetu, and he saw a play. My father was doing IPTA at the time. Once I think he called my father Dr. Babu. He used to call him Dr. Babu in early days. So I need your structure, so you are in. That's how my father came in the film industry.
সত্যি লোকালিটিটা দারুণ। কত লাভ হবে বলতো? কিসে লাভ হবে? ব্যবসা? ও আই কান্ট সে। তাহলে একটা আন্দাজ আছে তো? 10,000, 20,000 rupees, হ্যাঁ? 20,000 rupees, if not more. ভাব একবার ব্যাপারখানা। আমায় কিছু দিবি তো? তোকে দেবো না? তুই আমার ফিনান্সিয়ার 50%, মানে 10? হ্যাঁ, 20,000 to 50% 10? Oh, হ্যাঁ, 50%. Agreed.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite films too, because seldom has the Bengali youth been portrayed with such deft handling,
This is the beginning of a new phase in my career. Before that, when I make, for instance, Baishe Shravan, or even before that, Neel, Akasher, Neechey, I was considered to be a positive, radical filmmaker, but I was not that. I started learning after Akash Kusum.
একটা গলি দিয়ে ছুটে চলে যায় একটা ছেলে, একটা বুলেটের শব্দ রাত্রিরে অদূরে কোথাও, একটা হারমোনিয়াম বেজে ওঠে 7 সকালে, কেউ গলা ছাদে, কেউ গলা সাদে, কারো ছাদে বসে কোন পাড়ায়। টুকরো টুকরো ছবি আমার গোটা পৃথিবী, তুমি আমার বড়ই আমার সিনেমা, সিনেমা না ছুঁয়েও ছুঁতে পারা, হাতটা না ধরেও হাতটা ধরা,